Hey you guys. So let's talk about the new docuseries that's on Netflix. The Murdaugh Murders, a Southern Crime. Now, Netflix really planned it out well in regards to oh, the trial's going on. I don't know if they planned it. I don't know, but it's very interesting how it's ooh, they're having the trial going on and the docu-series just comes out at the same time. That's just really interesting. Really good placement. Really interesting. Um, so I give them kind of some props on that. The other thing is, and I think that's where some of this debate comes in, where it's okay, how many of these do we need? And let me explain on that. Because, Netflix has one, HBO Max came out with one, it was Murdaugh Murders, a Southern Dynasty or something in relation to a dynasty, that came out on November 3rd of 2022. And then, 2020 does their episodes, so doesn't count, but I'll include it anyway. They talk about this case as well, and that episode came out January 14th, 2022. So, there's always the debate of oh my god, when can we lay things to rest? When do we not talk about it? I think it's really up to are people willing to talk about it? As we see in the docu-series of HBO Max and of Netflix, and even, 2020, people are sitting down and talking about this is what happened, this occurred, in relation to the friends of Mallory, friends of Paul, the families of, Gloria, Stephen, people are sitting down and actually talking. Where it's in some of these cases with, I think, some of these true crime situations, with the documentaries and the docu-series, are people who are victims or related to the victims, are they actually consenting, if you will, talking about it? Do they want to be a part of it? If they're not, then that is very telling of their answer, It goes to show what they really want, and yet it's still being done or made. Now, in relation to the Netflix docuseries and the HBO Max docuseries, they're about the same. The only thing I can say that's a little bit different from what I've noticed is in the HBO Max one, they go just a tad more into detail on this family dynasty. They go just a little bit more into what does this mean within this community. And I think that kind of gives you a little bit more background as to oh, okay, this is why this family is important, etc. If that's not important to you, if that's not something you really want, Netflix kind of just gives you hey, this family's important. And it tells you midway through the docu-series this law firm or this dynasty, the thing that Alex's, family built is now crumbling down, because of everything that's happening. So it gives you it, but it doesn't spell it out for you, In the Netflix case, what I was seeing more was it talked a lot more in regards to Paul's relationship with his friends and girlfriend. So you hear a lot more in the case of how his girlfriend was treated and what she was kind of seeing when she would come over for dinners, and have dinners with the family or hang out with them. Here's some of the comments that were being said. So we're getting more of a perspective from the outside, not really outside looking in, but somebody who was interacting with the family a lot, what was happening. And so, we get that information and we get a little bit more on what Paul was like, what was going on. And then we do, with Paul's girlfriend, we get a little bit more information on, like, I would say in relation to, like, drugs. There's a strong indication of, Alex was using drugs. He did have a drug problem, and Paul was, like, really trying to help his father get off of the drugs here and there. Both go in, when it comes to the HBO Max and the Netflix ones, they both touch on the Stephen Smith case as well as the Gloria situation. And Gloria was their, I believe it was nanny slash housekeeper. I think it was more so housekeeper, but I cannot recall if at one point, like when the children were growing up, if she was a nanny for them, but definitely a housekeeper. And, she had an incident where essentially she tripped over some dogs and died on the property. And so what was however, it's explained more within the docuseries, because there's more to it than just that. But both touch on those topics really well. It's just, it really just depends what service you have. I do think probably the next Netflix one has more relevant information in regards to, hey, this is a little bit more up to date. This is what was recently found. This is what's recently happening. But both will give you essentially, like, if you want to know more in regards to this trial and everything else in between, both will give you that information, I think. So, check them out. Or if you just really want, just like, hey, I just want a quick hour, call it good, 2020 is where it's at. I enjoy 2020. I love them. So, feel free to check any of those out if you want, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.